What up, peeps? It's your girl Dash, come back to Frontal Takes. Well, it's that time again, you guys. It's movie review time, and this one is for Terminator Dark Fate. This one, of course, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, Mackenzie Davis, Gabrielle Union, and Natalia Reyes. Now, this one, I'm excited. It's directed by Tim Miller. If you're not familiar with him, he's the director of Deadpool. I was so anticipating this movie. I've been waiting all year, literally, and of course, here we are. It's now in November, and I was definitely not let down. I enjoyed this movie immensely. Now, I'm a fan of the franchise. I've said it many times. I've loved honestly almost all of them. I enjoyed the first one. That is my favorite, and of course, a lot of people love to talk about how much they love Judgment Day. Now, with the way this one was done, as you all know, this is because they wanted to keep this going in order with the franchise to have a kind of like a full arc, all three movies. So this is considered the third in the franchise. It's almost like we have to excuse the fact that they've made other ones, you know, from the Terminator Salvation, Genesis, you know, you name it, they've made them. We have quite a bit. This would be considered, honestly, the sixth one, if I'm not mistaken. But I am very happy that we got this particular movie. I know that James Cameron was involved. I think he was considered more of the producer aspect, of course, Tim being the director. I'm happy that they were able to get Linda Hamilton to come back. I know that Tim had made it abundantly clear if she was not able to come on board, it was a possibility he was not going to make the movie. James Cameron definitely played a part. We know that he did reach out, and they talked business, and she kind of came on board, like I said it when they did Comic-Con, talking about how she wanted to kind of see exactly where has Sarah been, what Sarah's been doing, what she's been dealing with, you know, the conflict, things of that nature. I will say this, I'm just going to go ahead and do a spoiler review on this. I'm just not going to hold it back. This won't be very long and lengthy, but I just want to kind of get in the thick of it. So just putting that out there, spoiler review, that would definitely already be in the title. With this particular one, I love that they basically tied it all together from the second one. So this definitely brings it full circle. Knowing what happened to her, not realizing that we had heard that Connor John would be back. He was back, but not in the way I thought he would be. I thought we'd be seeing, you know, the actor who played him back then in Judgment Day would be in this one. But to be honest with you, we did not get to see him in that. They did it a totally different way, which I was not expecting. Nothing wrong with that, but it still does tie in with this third installment of the franchise, the way they have it set up with the movie. We do get introduced, like I said, to Natalia Reyes' character. She plays Daniela. They call her Dani. She's a factory worker. She lives in Mexico. And it kind of just shows, you know, every day just going to work with her brother, you know, her father's home, whichever. You see her just, you know, dealing with some certain things, you know, in regards to them changing up things, the dynamic at the workplace, you know, instead of using the factory workers, they're using more machines, whichever. So we get a little bit of small little impact with there. You do see the scene where it shows Mackenzie Davis' character plays Grace. Of course, as they did in the first one, you see how they come out of the sky, whatever, you know, they're coming from time, you know, from the future, whichever. Her part was really good with the opening for her scene, seeing how she's, you know, transported, how she comes here. Same thing with Gabrielle Luna, who plays Gabriel, aka he goes by Rev-9. That is a particular Terminator model now. Of course, you remember the T-800. We remember the T-1000 with Robert Patrick. Now we have a Rev-9. The name is totally different. In the trailer, you do see where they talk about when she finally has to help, you know, Dani and Grace, because there's quite a bit of action. I enjoyed the amount of action we got in this. I think it was, you know, partially done really nice, where it's even balanced with giving us the, you know, the storyline, the dramatic parts, and then giving us the action part. You see it where eventually, of course, Linda Hamilton, aka Sarah, shows up. You know, I'll be back, and just comes to help them out of the situation. Unbeknownst to how all of a sudden how she just happened to appear when she knows the Terminators are here, you know, this girl, whichever. And I love how eventually they are confronted. They kind of confront each other in looks like a little hotel room, whichever, rundown. And she kind of tells her story, and she asks for hers, and she explains to her, yeah, you might have saved, you know, billions of people, whichever. And she asks her what happened to her son. You know, was considered, you know, some sort of like warrior, you know, whichever would have been for the future. Of course, you know, like I said, you know, the way they show John Connor and the situation that happens kind of sets the catalyst of how she's been living her life since this happened. You know, circa them showing a couple of months past after the situation of her getting away in Judgment Day with John, whichever. They're, you know, at an island, and then of course, you know, his character, the Terminator, shows up, whichever. I love the CGI on it, because I swear to goodness, I swear Arnold's face, they can mold it just the way they want. So from there, you know, she tells her why she's there. She's there to help Dani. Dani, of course, still is oblivious to a lot of what's going on. She's learning from Sarah and Grace exactly what's really going on. Why is it her? You know, she's part of, you know, a set, resistance, that's going to, of course, be in the future going, what, 2040, whatever. So, of course, Sarah's trying to adapt to all of a sudden this is happening again, or you're going to have a son, whichever. Come to find out, it's not going to be that way. It's going to be her. And all the people who are around who are working with her, a part of resistance to deal with the situation where we had to deal with Skynet, creating these things, causing a situation. But Sarah being able to stop that, it's no longer Skynet. It's now called Legion. So it's a totally different, situation, but still similar in how it infects and, all the people, just millions and millions of people, billions of people, let's just be honest with you. So that was really interesting, understanding how Sarah was able to locate them, her receiving coordinates through her phone, whichever, from something, not knowing where it's come from, is saying, for John, whatever, always send these little, certain little coordinates with text, whichever. And then, of course, before Grace shows up, she has, certain things embedded on her, like a certain coordinates, and it's the same ones to go to this location. That's when we get, of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Come to find out, she's looking at him, not realizing he's the actual Terminator that actually is the one that killed. He was off the grid, living a life, so far away over in Laredo, Texas. That's where they end up having to go. And him explaining himself, what he's been doing. His name is Carl. He's living, with a woman, helped to raise a son, whichever, living a very low-key life, whichever, and he's like, she doesn't really know what you are. She doesn't know you're 400 pounds. You're this. Certain parts were funny when she would bring it up, because she's trying to rationalize this. And Dani understands, they're there for a bigger purpose, but understanding all this time, losing her son, dealing with the situation, doing certain things to kind of, immune her to it, her drinking, whatever, to numb the pain of what she's been through, and then doing it. She sent these coordinates, she goes wherever the Terminator is, and she just deals with it. And that's what her life is basically consisted of. She's had no real life, and that's the sad and unfortunate part about that. But and we're going with the storyline, it makes perfect sense. So how could she really have a normal life? She lost her baby, all amongst, the life of, living with dealing with a guy who came to save her from being killed because her son had a bigger purpose, whichever, and just feeling like she thought they got past all that just for him to be taken from her later. So that was really interesting. Like I said, Gabriel Luna's character, he was really good as the Terminator. I thought he did very well. Definitely no emotion. Reminds me of Robert Patrick's character too, and of course Arnold. There's nothing that he kind of played his little parts, make comments, because we will say this: the Terminator at the time, T-800, really had nothing. It was basically, very robotic. Robert Patrick's character didn't have nothing to say. You never heard him speak a word. He was all in his facial expressions. With Gabriel Luna, he would play the part when he came down. He would speak Spanish. He went by the name Gabriel. He tried to blend in, ask questions and all that. So you can tell they enhanced him a lot more. So that was really interesting. I caught that off the top. Like he started speaking, and when she had the shirt and she's looking at him naked, and he just like, hello ma'am, whatever and all. He's fusing the shirt into his skin. It was just really good. The technology was done very well with that. Like I stated, the action scenes between Mackenzie Davis and Gabriel Luna were done really well. I love the scenes between Sarah, Carl, Grace, and then the Rev-9 were really good when they were playing off each other with all the different scenes they were doing. Of course, Arnold shooting up his face, whichever, all these different scenes, and then realizing, and she wants her revenge. She's like, once it's all done, I'm going to kill you. He's like, he understands, because he's like, he knows his eventually is coming to an end. They're all there. They know this is a bigger picture. This needs to be done. I love how we got to understand Grace and her abilities, her being like a cyborg, human type, whichever, enhanced definitely with more. After she shows flashbacks of how she ended up, being in the resistance, how she was a child, lost her family, hiding out, whichever, then finding out that she actually does know Dani from the future, whichever. But of course, Dani from the future tells her, don't tell her anything at first, she won't understand this, and her slowly learning and understanding what's really going on. And that was a really good scene. I loved, seeing that and her understanding it and realizing her real purpose and how everything ends up turning out. Her, of course, having to use Grace to finally kill the Rev-9 so he couldn't cause any more harm, kill her, whichever. And of course, us losing the original Terminator T-800, him, coming that, I have to get rid of him, also have to get rid of myself, and fully, truly being killed. This will be considered the last, actual Terminator from that particular era, from those over 22 plus years or so ago, being the one that, killed John in the end, ends up coming again, full circle. Her seeing them, her and Dani looking down, whatever, like remember John and Sarah looked down, seeing him, of course, that one killing himself, whichever. So in the end, it was a really good movie. I enjoyed it. They do leave it open for interpretation. I don't know if Linda Hamilton will do another one, but it's a possibility. The girl playing Dani, Natalie Reyes, could come back. It is a possibility. We don't know. Depends on how good this does at the theater, probably for us to know if it will do good. I am totally down. Like I said, I do love the Terminator franchise, so I'm fine with that. So I look forward to seeing if it does, you know, continue the story. We'll have to see if they're going to add some things with the story moving forward, add a little bit of extra to it, you know, then that is good as well. I don't have no problem with that. But in the end, you know, these are nostalgic to me. I have a soft spot for them, so that's probably why. I know some people might want more, whichever expecting more, I don't know. But I know for me, it did the job. I'm happy. I like what I saw. So with that said, you guys comment below. Let me know what you all think. And with that said, I'll see you guys in the next review. You guys take care.